Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjam Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjam Bihari Gopidhanavallabha Girivardhari Yasodhanandana Bhajanana Ranjana Yasodhanandana Brajanana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjam Bihari Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jai Prabhupada. Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Harinam Sankirtan Yagya ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Shri Shri Ramachandra Avibhav Mahamahotsava ki jai, Shri Shri Ram-Navami Mahamahotsava ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna. So today is the Transcendental Appearance Day of Lord Ramachandra. And Lord Ramachandra is the most worshipable Supreme Personality of Godhead. And, I have a book. And Lord Ramachandra is the most worshipable Supreme Personality of Godhead. Srila Prabhupada explains that there are 3 days in the year that are particularly celebrated. Well, 4, I might say. That is naturally Gaur-Purnim, Krishna Janmashtami, Lord Nrsingadev's appearance day, and also the appearance day of Lord Ramachandra. So of all the festivals that are celebrated, these are the most prominent. And why is it so? You know. Why is it so? Well, I'll tell you. Because it is said that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That we know. Krishna Stu Bhagavan Swayam. And it said that Krishna is Sadaisvarya Purna, that Krishna has all the 6 opulences. He has all wealth, he has all beauty, he has all fame, he has all strength, he has all knowledge, he has all renunciation. Like this, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, Srila Rupa Goswami, in his Laghu Bhagavatamrita, has mentioned that Lord Nrsingadev and Lord Ramachandra, they're also Sadaisvarya Purna. They also have all the 6 opulences in full. However, he says that Lord Nrsingadev is particularly manifesting the power of the Lord. Right? So he shows the power. Lord Nrsingadev. And said, but Lord Ramachandra, in comparison to Lord Nrsingadev, shows a lot of sweetness. Lord Ramachandra, because of his personal human dealings. Krishna shows the ultimate sweetness, Madhurya. Right? So in this way, Krishna's pastimes are considered to be the topmost. But nonetheless, Lord Ramachandra is almost Krishna and must be taken like that, as a manifestation of the Lord who has all the 6 opulences. All right, what can we do for you? Tell us what you want to say. You want to speak, or you were just stretching? Is Ramachandra actually Krishna or not? He is almost Krishna. Almost Krishna. He is non-different from Krishna, but he's not manifesting all the features of Krishna. You see? Because, why is that? Because when Krishna comes, he brings us his eternal pastimes from the spiritual world. But when Ramachandra comes, he brings us the path of Dharma, the path of duty, of what we have to, our religious duty, the path of Dharma. So that's the difference between the two. Krishna sometimes also teaches religious duty, but then Krishna is also stealing. That's not religious duty. Stealing is not allowed. But Krishna can do what he wants, because he is Krishna. So if he wants, he's God. If he wants to steal, then it is nice. If you and I steal, it's not nice. But when Krishna steals, it's nice. Because he's the Supreme Lord, like that. But Lord Ramachandra, he just lives the path of Dharma, the pure path. That is how it's understood. Anyway, that's an interesting point. So this book, the Lagu Bhagavatamrita, written by Srila Rupa Goswami, gives us a description of all the incarnations of the Lord, and it's very significant. I mean, it's an important book. It is called the Lagu Bhagavatamrita because we have also the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, which is written by Sanatana Goswami, and it follows, in a way, the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, and the Brihad Bhagavatamrita follows the Bhagavatam. So therefore, let us begin now with the Bhagavatam, and then we'll jump a little to the Brihad Bhagavatamrita as well. So, on the board we have verse number 2 from the 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. First we'll chant Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Arsti Senena Sahagandharve Anugiyamanam Paramakaya Bhatri Bhagavat Katam Samuprasinoti Swayam Chedam Gayati Asti Senena Sahagandharve Anugiyamanam Paramakalyanim Bhatri Bhagavat Katam Samupasinoti Swayam Chedam Gayati Aristi Senena Sahagandharve Anugiyamanam Paramakalyanim Bhatri Bhagavat Katam Samupasinoti Swayam Chedam Gayati. Ladies. Paramakalyanam. Arstisena. Arstisena. The chief personality of Kim Purushavarsa. Saha, with Gandharvai, by a company of Gandharvas, Anugiyamanam, being chanted, Paramakalyanim, most auspicious, Bhartri Bhagavat Katam, the glories of his master, who is also the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Samupasrinoti, he hears with great attention. Swayam cha, and personally. Idam, this. Gayati, chants. Translation. A host of Gandharvas is always engaged in chanting the glories of Lord Ramachandra. That chanting is always extremely auspicious. Hanuman and Arstisena, the chief person in Kim Purushavarsa, constantly hear those glories with complete attention. Hanuman chants the following mantras. Om Namo Bhagavate Uttama Sloke Nama Ari Laksane Shilavrattaya Nama Upakshitik Sitatmana Upasita Lokaya Nama Sadhuvada Nikasanaya Namo Brahmanya Devaya Mahapurusha Maharajaya Nami Iti. Let me please your lordship by chanting the Bija mantra Omkara. I wish to offer my respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, who is the best among the most highly elevated personalities. Your lordship is the reservoir of all the good qualities of Aryans, people who are advanced. Your character and behavior are always consistent, and you always control your senses and mind. Acting just like an ordinary human being, you exhibit exemplary character to teach others how to behave. There's a touchstone that can be used to examine the quality of gold. But you are like a touchstone that can verify all good qualities. You are worshipped by the Brahmanas, who are the foremost of all devotees. You, the Supreme Person, are the King of Kings, and therefore I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. So we can appreciate these prayers, and we can appreciate that Krishna, that Lord Ramachandra, we can appreciate that Lord Ramachandra is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And we can appreciate that statement of Rupa Goswami, where he says Ramachandra represents the sweetness and Lord Nrsingadev the power. Because Lord Nrsingadev, when he comes from the pillar, he basically just manifests this incredible power, right? Vajranaga, Vajradamstra, teeth as hard as thunderbolts, nails, thunderbolt nails. It's just like power. and just basically annihilating Hiranyakasipu. But Lord Ramachandra is showing many, many sentiments. Lord Ramachandra is awakening also many sentiments in his devotees. And Lord Ramachandra is in different ways increasing those sentiments. We can see when Kaikeyi came, and yes, she had served her husband, King Dasarat, so nicely. Dasarat, who was able to fight in 10 directions at the same time. So the 10 directions are the north, south, east, west, the directions in between, and the direction upwards and the directions downwards. Basically, when we speak of the 10 directions, we are covering all directions. So Dasarat was able to simultaneously fight in all directions. But in the middle of a great battle, his chariot wheel had a problem. That the brake pin that keeps the wheel on the chariot somehow or other had come out. And thus the wheel was about to come off the chariot when his wife, Kaikeyi, who was also on the chariot, just took immediate action and put her little finger, her female finger, which was fine and tender and slender, in the hole. And that held the wheel on the chariot. And Dasarat continued to fight and defeat in the battle. Yes, well, you are amazing. You are amazing, Dasarat said. Just without any hesitation, you just are so dedicated. I am overwhelmed. You took that risk, that's like, and put your finger in that hole. So like, I'm so indebted to you, I'll give you any benediction you want. I will not give you just any benediction you want. I'll give you another benediction as well. In this way, Dasarat promised her 2 benedictions, and she said, "Thank you so much. I'll take them later." So she saved them for later and used them by the influence of Manthara, who told her like, "Oh, Kaikeyi, you are lying here on a sofa enjoying while your doom is about to come." It's like, okay, Manthara, relax, what's wrong? So don't you know that Ram will be crowned king tomorrow? Don't you know? It's like, well, isn't it wonderful? Everyone is celebrating. Oh, you foolish woman, don't you know that now you are the favorite queen of the king? But it won't stay like that. Once Ram is the king, then, you'll be out of favor, and Kausalya will become the favorite wife of Dasarat. And so on, right? And we remember that Kaikeyi took her 2 boons. 1, that Ram will be banished to the forest, and 2, that my son Bharat will be crowned king. Yes, that boon was taken. And we recall that Lord Ramachandra, when this boon was given by Dasarat, Dasarat felt betrayed. He felt so much betrayed that Dasarat was so much betrayed that he just didn't know what to do. And he was considering, I'll just break my word. That was the first thought he had. I'll just break my word. But then he thought, how can I break my word? Right? Because if I break my word, what kind of father am I? Then I give the wrong example to my son. So I cannot break my word. But it broke him. And so he was broken. He couldn't even speak. And Lord Ramachandra came there, and Dasarat all emotional. And Kaikeyi says, your father wants to tell you something. And he couldn't speak, couldn't say anything. And then Kaikeyi mentioned, he promised me 2 boons. And with these 2 boons, I want that you go to the forest and that Bharat will be crowned king. And so she arranged. Bharat wasn't there. Bharat was somewhere else at the time. He would have protested, but he was not present. So anyway, the whole thing took place. And the point is that then Lord Ramachandra remained completely calm. It was like it caused, and when Kaikeyi spoke like this, it reverberated through the whole palace. I mean, everyone was shocked. No, right? No, this cannot be true. How is this happening? So everyone was totally upset except Lord Ramachandra. He was completely calm and said, my dear mother, why did you use those boons for that? You could have just asked me to go to the forest and I would have gone, just on your order. So, and then Ram, completely calm and completely detached, was ready to go to the forest. So this shows how in the pastimes of Lord Ramachandra, and that's why I just told this little story, very well-known story, just to illustrate how much the emotions were churned, right? Because this is a very emotional moment in the Ramayana, and how much emotions were like all being coming out this way and that way, and the whole range was just being experienced there. So, whereas with Lord Nrsingadev, it was just like all overwhelming power, right? All. And the result was awe and reverence. The demigods couldn't even go before Lord Nrsingadev. They stayed at a distance. And it's like, too much power here. This is too much. This is like, and Lord Brahma said, well, Prahlad, you go. Right? he came because of you, so you go. Yeah. So, like this. Like this, yes. Like this, we can understand Rupa Goswami's statement. How the sweetness means the emotions are involved. And in this way, Lord Ramachandra is showing us so much more ras, so much more taste, so much more mallows in his sweetness. And therefore, Lord Ramachandra is worshipable. Hanuman is glorifying the Lord. And Hanuman is, first of all, establishing Lord Ramachandra as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Hanuman is saying, Om Namo Bhagavate. He's establishing as the Supreme Lord, offers his obeisances, and says, Uttama Slokaya, who is always worshipped with selected verses. Because Hanuman, after all, is not just any other person. We may recall that Hanuman was the son of Anjana, who had been cursed, and who came from the heavenly planets. Therefore, Hanuman was invested with the power of the demigods. And Hanuman was the son of Vayu, and therefore Hanuman was extremely powerful. And when this powerful son appeared in this world, there were some complications because his mother, when she was cursed to go to the earthly domain because she had shown some lusty tendencies, and that's not suitable for the heavenly regions. So then, at least some adharmic lusty tendencies, then go to earth, because that's the abode for that, right? And so she was sent to earth, but she begged for mercy, and the mercy was, all right, after you've given birth to a child, you can return to the heavenly regions. So she gave birth to Hanuman, and she was ready to go back to the heavenly planets. But Hanuman grabbed her clothes and said, wait a minute, you can't go. You are my mother, right? I mean, how can you go? No. He says, she says, sorry, but, I have to go, you'll be all right, don't worry, And he says, no, I'm hungry, what will I eat, right? So then she said, very easy, you eat anything that is red and round. So it was night when Hanuman appeared. So he was waiting and waiting. There was nothing red and round. But in the morning, the sun was rising, and it was red and round, and Hanuman was starving. So he said, good. So Hanuman immediately jumped up, right? He jumped up towards the sun and came with great speed, and the sun god, became very worried and mentioned it to Indra that this is getting out of hand. This, some demon is coming to swallow me. And Indra took action. And Indra threw a thunderbolt. And Indra, with that, broke the jaw of Hanuman, right? We still have, in India, toothpaste known as Vajradanti. I'm not advertising here, but rather they stole it, but it's from the Ramayana, so Vajradanti. He threw that thunderbolt and broke the jaw, the teeth of Hanuman. Anyway, this is just a small piece, not serious. And but then the demigods, because they saw he's too powerful, they cursed him that he would forget his power, but that his power would return to him when he was reminded of his power. And then they all offered him benedictions to pacify him. And different devatas were offering him different benedictions. And so he became quite powerful. And Brihaspati offered him the knowledge of what was edible, different berries and fruits and things. So in this way, the problem was solved. Hanuman got something to eat, don't worry. Yes. Anyway, but Hanuman was, although his power was somewhat diminished by the curse of the devatas, he was still very, very powerful. And Hanuman, as he grew up, came before the sun. And the sun is riding around in a chariot filled with many brahmanas. And Hanuman asked to learn the Vedas. And so he asked if he could sit on the chariot of the sun to hear all the Vedas being recited by many brahmanas. But the sun god was not so much in favor after his previous experiences to let Hanuman sit on the chariot. And then Hanuman said, all right, no problem. I will move in front of your chariot and I'll move backwards. So Hanuman moved in front of the sun as the sun was going around the universe, and he was hearing all the Vedas. As a result, Hanuman was very learned. Hanuman was extremely learned. That is illustrated in one pastime where um, Lord Ramachandra and Lakshman, they have already been banished to the forest, and they are going towards South India, and they come across Hanuman for the first time, and Hanuman is disguised, and he's asking them who they are. So Lakshman is speaking, and he said, and this is Ramachandra. He is the Yuvraj in the Raghu dynasty. He is the crown prince in the Raghu dynasty. Right? So in this way, he is Lakshman. And then Lakshman says, he doesn't say, and I'm his younger brother, but Lakshman says, and I am his servant. And in this way, Lakshman takes the humble position and is not indirectly glorifying himself. Then we see that Hanuman responds, and it is said that Hanuman responds with choice words, right, from the Vedas. And not only that, Hanuman even speaks on the right note. Yeah, it's like speaking on the right note, not too high, not too low, but just the right note, right? So that's also very interesting. What that note was, I can't remember. But the point is, again, that Hanuman indeed was very wise and very learned. And so Hanuman is a great spiritual personality. So Hanuman is here now reciting in Kim Purusha Varsa. When Hanuman was reciting in Kim Purusha Varsa, then Hanuman was reciting there after Lord Ramachandra left the planet. Hanuman recited for a long time and still recites in Kim Purusha Varsa, and is there constantly chanting the glories of the Lord, and constantly hearing this most auspicious Bhagavad Gita. So in this way, that is Hanuman. He has a complete focus. He is always thinking of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he's always glorifying the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Ramachandra. He has no other interest. He has no other interest. It is mentioned that once Hanuman came to Dwarka, and when Hanuman came to Dwarka, then Krishna arranged to take the form of Lord Ramachandra. And he arranged that Rukmini would take the form of Sita, and that they all appeared like a yoja. Right? And Hanuman was very happy to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because Hanuman is such a Vaishnava, he only wants to see Lord Ramachandra. He has no other desire, and he wants to see his Istadev. So that is the focus. The Istadev of Hanuman is Lord Ramachandra. You see the same confirmed in Chaitanya Charitamrita. The Istadev, the worshipable Lord of Murari Gupta, who is known as Hanuman, is Lord Ramachandra. He cannot change it. Even when Lord Chaitanya asks him to change it, he cannot change it. He cannot change it. Lord Chaitanya had asked him to change. The whole night he was crying. The whole night he could not sleep. And in the morning he fell at the feet of Lord Chaitanya and said, "It's better I give up my life, because I cannot disobey your order, but I cannot give up my Lord Raghunath." Lord Chaitanya picked him up, and he said, and he wrote on his forehead with his finger, "Ramdas, you are Hanuman, you are Hanuman, you are Ramdas." Right? Like that. So although Lord Chaitanya established Krishna as the supreme worshipable deity. And although we are following Lord Chaitanya and therefore worshipping the Lord Krishna as our supreme worshipable deity, Murari Gupta, he could not focus on Krishna. He could only focus on Lord Ramachandra. He had that mood of worshipping Lord Ramachandra. In the Srimad Bhagavatam Rita, we have a description of how Narada Muni is looking for the greatest devotee of the Lord. And particularly, not just the greatest devotee, but the devotee that has received the greatest mercy of the Lord. So then, we see that first there's a Brahmana in Prayag who very nicely worships the Lord, and then Narada comes and glorifies him, says, "You are the greatest devotee. You are getting the most mercy of the Lord." Then that Brahmana says, "No, like I am just simply worshipping the Lord here on my own." He said, "But in South India there is a king, and he is not only worshipping the Lord very nice, but he engages his whole kingdom in the worship of the Lord. So he is greater than me, and he's a greater recipient of the mercy of the Lord because he engages many." Narada gets so excited that he's already on the way to South India to meet that king. So each time when Narada finds a great devotee, that great devotee is glorifying someone else, and then Narada goes there. So at one point Narada comes to Hanuman. "Oh Hanuman." And Narada says, "Oh Hanuman, you are the greatest devotee. You are the most wonderful devotee." And then Hanuman says, he covers his ears and says, "Oh Hanuman," he says, "you are the most fortunate." Hanuman says, "How am I the most fortunate? How am I the most fortunate? Look, when Lord Ramachandra performed his pastimes, and when he finally wound up his pastimes, all the residents of Ayodhya went back to Godhead. All of them went back to Godhead, except me. I had to stay behind. And here I am in this Kim Purusha Varsa. I was not eligible to go back when all the residents of Ayodhya went back. And I had to live here for a very long time in the separation of my Lord. How am I the most fortunate?" Hanuman said. Hanuman said, "No, I'm not the most fortunate." He said, "The Pandavas are the most fortunate, the Pandavas." Because, the Lord personally stayed in the association of the Pandavas for a long time. He lived with them in their palace with the Pandavas. He became the guard of the Pandavas. He became the chariot driver of the Pandavas. The Lord was acting as the messenger of the Pandavas, the Pandavas, the Pandavas. And Narada goes, "The Pandavas, the Pandavas, the Pandavas." And Hanuman goes, "The Pandavas, the Pandavas." And they start dancing, "The Pandavas, the Pandavas, the Pandavas." And they get totally in ecstasy, "The Pandavas." And then Narada says, "The Pandavas." And Hanuman says, "The Pandavas." And they're so ecstatic just saying the Pandavas. And then Narada says, "Let's go to the Pandavas." And then Hanuman says, "Yes, let's go to the Pandavas." And then they're going. And then Hanuman says, "Wait a minute, I can't go to the Pandavas." And Narada says, "Huh? What? We're going to the Pandavas." He says, "No, I can't go. No." He said, "Why you can't go to the Pandavas?" "I can't go to the Pandavas because I am a monkey." He says, "Well, that's not, they're okay, He says, No. You don't understand. The Pandavas, they are very informal with the Lord. Arjun lies on the same bed and they order him around." He said, No. I couldn't go there because of my monkey nature. I have to be very careful to follow, a strict formal mood, right? And always take the humble position of a servant. Otherwise it gets out of control. Says, no, I can't go to the Pandavas. No. But really, Hanuman could not change his rasa, his mood, and go from the worship of Lord Ramachandra to the worship of Lord Krishna. Although he surely recognized Lord Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but his heart was with Lord Ramachandra. What could he do? What could he do? Hanuman's heart was with Lord Ramachandra, and it could not go anywhere else. Hanuman even on one occasion showed his heart and showed that Sita Ram were in there. We know that famous. So in this way we can appreciate his complete focus. His complete focus. Let me please your Lordship by chanting the Bija Mantra Omkara. I wish to offer my respectful obeisance to the personality of Godhead, who's the best amongst the highly elevated personalities. Your Lordship is the reservoir of all the good qualities of Aryans, people who are advanced. So the Aryans are advanced because they are behaving according to scripture. That makes one an Arya, a most elevated personality. Tumi Sarva Jakatir Arya. We hear in the Chaitanya Charitamrita about Haridas Thakur, who spent his time glorifying the Supreme Lord constantly by chanting the holy name, which is the ultimate religious principle. It is the ultimate essence of all the Vedas. It is also mentioned that the Ramayana, as we know it, the Valmiki Ramayana, has 24,000 verses. But it's said that in Brahmaloka, it consists of Vatsakoti or Sattakoti slok. That they have a Ramayana of, Lord Brahma has a Ramayana of 100 crore verses. So that is pretty interesting. It is also mentioned that Lord Shiva became aware of this and that he was interested. But when he got that amazing scripture of 100 crores, he wanted to share the transcendental knowledge, and he divided. He gave 33 crores to the upper planetary system, 33 crores middle planetary system, 33 crores lower planetary system, and he had 1 crore left. Then he decided to divide that again, and in the end, he kept on dividing until he had only 2 syllables left, and these 2 syllables were Rama, and there everything could be attained. So the entire Ramayana is there in the name of Lord Ram. That point is being made. So the constant glorification of the Lord through his name. It is said, Rama, Rameti, Rameti, Rama, Rama, Manurama, Rama, Namabistulyam, Ramana Varanane. It is mentioned that from Padma Purana that the name of Ram, 3 names of Ram, is the same as 1,000 names of Vishnu. That Vishnu Sahasranam, the 1,000 names of Vishnu, are very famous and are chanted. But 3 names of Ram equal the 1,000 names of Vishnu. So so how is that? Is Ram different from Vishnu? No, it's the same. But he's also different, simultaneously one and different. Is Ram the same as Krishna? Yes, no. What is the answer? Yes, no. Is Ram the same as Krishna? Yes, no. Yes, no. He is the same, simultaneously one and different. Because Lord Ramachandra is also Krishna, the Supreme Lord, but he's not manifesting all the same powers of Krishna. Lord Vishnu is also the Supreme Lord, Narayan, 4 arms, but not manifesting all the same special qualities that Lord Ramachandra is manifesting. So Lord Ramachandra's pastimes are indeed bringing out many emotions. Sometimes it is heart-wrenching, right? Especially at the end. But let's not go there yet. But let us stay for a moment with Hanuman and his prayer. There's a touchstone that can be used to examine the quality of gold, but you are like a touchstone that can verify all good qualities. So that is also very nice. A touchstone that can be used to see if the quality of gold. But Lord Ramachandra is a touchstone, and we can just examine in how much a person is following Lord Ramachandra, and in how, just by his example. Just compare anyone next to the example of Lord Ramachandra, and so it will be revealed, right, where we are falling short in good qualities. Because Lord Ramachandra is the emblem of all good qualities. This is exactly how the Ramayana begins. If we read the Ramayana, then on the first pages, it begins with Narada Muni. And Narada Muni is asking, basically, who is the reservoir of all good qualities? And then he begins to describe good qualities. Right? And Narada gives a list of good qualities and asks, who is embodying all these good qualities? Right? And he's asking Valmiki. And then Valmiki, when he hears all this, right, and a whole list described of good qualities and who embodies all this, then Valmiki becomes ecstatic. Right? And he becomes ecstatic to a point where he just immediately responds, that is Lord Ram, like that is Ramachandra. But what Narada really did, Narada just awoke his ecstasy. Right? Narada just started to list like all these qualities, all these great qualities, and when he heard all these great qualities from the mouth of Narada, then Valmiki said, yeah, no one has these qualities except my Lord Ramachandra. I mean, he has all the good qualities, and then it just started flowing from his mouth, and then the whole Ramayana was spoken by Valmiki, inspired by Lord Brahma, who has his more elaborate Ramayana. If anyone goes to Brahmaloka, send me a copy of that Ramayana. That would be nice to have in the library. Yes, so amazing. The Ramayana, right, is written spoken by Valmiki, and it is revealed from his deep ecstatic meditation on the Supreme Lord. And so Lord Ramachandra is described like a touchstone that can verify all good qualities. You are worshipped by Brahmanas, who are the foremost of all devotees. Yes, so the Brahmana, again, a Brahmana has no independent life. A Brahmana is always representing the scriptures. A Brahmana is the embodiment of the scriptures. Every act, every word has to represent the scripture. That is what it means. A Brahmana is a living manifestation of the scripture. Therefore, the Brahmana is the well-wisher of all and the most generous of all, because every of his acts is giving mercy. Therefore, yes, he is the most generous person. You, the Supreme Person, are the King of Kings, and therefore I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. So this Ram Raja, the rule of Lord Ramachandra, is the emblem of perfect ruling, of the King of Kings, the example of all kings. And it's quite something that in India, this remained preserved. If we are taking it that Lord Ramachandra appeared in the Treta Yuga, right, of the 24th millennium, we were reading in a long time ago. So those who want to do mathematics can do so. I mean, I'm not able to do right now. But a very long time ago, right, Lord Ramachandra appeared, but his glorification, the glorification remained very, very strong in the land of Bharat. Right? Very, very strong. And I've witnessed myself in my years in India the amazing effect when the Ramayana was put into a television series. And this was just a phenomena. I mean, everyone was buying a television, right? Just, they had to see the Ramayana. When there was a session of the government going on during the Ramayana, it was cancelled. They closed down the parliament to see the Ramayana, right? When people were traveling on trains, right, they would pull the emergency brake, get off the train, and go into some village and find a television to see the Ramayana, right? We also, I remember being in Calcutta and the Ramayana was being shown on the veranda, and the whole temple was just looking at the Ramayana. And all the glorious pastimes. It was just a phenomenon. I mean, the whole country was just totally absorbed in the Ramayana. And the Ramayana is still standing there for all, and no one finds fault with Lord Ramachandra. No one finds fault with Lord Ramachandra. That's the amazing thing. For all this time, for 1,000,000 years, no one found fault with Lord Ramachandra. Every one of his acts was perfect. No one found fault with Lord Ramachandra, except Bali. Oh yes, Bali found fault with Lord Ramachandra. Because Bali, he was the elder brother of Sugriva. They were very powerful. They were also, both of these brothers, Bali and Sugriva, also the sons of demigods. Therefore they had great, great power. On one occasion, there was a powerful enemy, demon, and it was a great fight. And Bali, who was the strongest of the two brothers, and who was the king, Bali went into a cave to fight that demon. Then, as he was fighting, then the demon imitated his voice and called out very loud, like a big scream, right, for help. So then, but Bali defeated that demon, smashed him. But meanwhile, Sugriva, when he heard that scream, became very afraid. And therefore, he quickly put a big rock in front of the hole in the ground, so that that the demon would remain locked in. Then he went back and he mourned. His brother had gone, and what to do now? And eventually he was crowned king, and then there was the widow of his brother, and what to do? He married also the widow of his brother, And then a little later, Bali appeared. And just see, you know what I mean? You tried to take advantage. When I went into that cave, you locked me in with a big boulder and you thought you had me there, right? And then you took over my kingdom and stole my wife, right? So naturally it created some enmity, and Sugriva had to run for his life. Now there was one place where Bali couldn't go, and that was in Kiskinda, that mountain, because somehow or other Bali had been cursed. He had disturbed some sages there, and he had been cursed that if he would ever set foot there again, that he would die. So Sugriva basically was hiding there. But once in a day, the time was never sure, but once in a day, suddenly, Bali would come flying with a huge jump in the sky, kick with one foot on the head of Sugriva, and fly away and land outside of the land of Kiskinda. So in this way, Bali made sure that Sugriva had a continuous headache. So it was a big problem for Sugriva. And so finally, Lord Ramachandra, when he, through Hanuman's connection, Hanuman was the minister of Sugriva, and after that first meeting, which I already described, when they met, then Hanuman connected him with Sugriva, and Sugriva agreed that he would give his army of monkeys to try and find Sita, who had been taken away to the south by Ravana. So this pact was made, and then in exchange Ramachandra agreed to deal with Bali. So what Ramachandra did, he was waiting behind a tree, bow and arrow ready to strike. And when Bali came and he flew through the sky and he kicked Sugriva on the head and then flew again through the sky, then Lord Ramachandra shot him from behind a tree with an arrow. And Bali was lying mortally wounded on the ground, but still able to speak. And he said, "Now just see what you did. The whole world is worshipping you for your greatness. The whole world is worshipping you as the perfect example. And what did you do? Instead of giving me a fair fight, you were hiding behind a tree and shot me from an ambush in the back." It's like such cowardly behavior I didn't expect from you. He said, if you are a noble Kshatriya, then, people may believe it, but I know the truth. But then Lord Ramachandra explained and said, "No, Bali, no." He said, "What you are describing, that is the etiquette amongst Kshatriyas, amongst two warriors who are dedicated to uphold the principles of Dharma, but who are having some disagreement and may even fight to death, right? Following the codes of Dharma. But you are not following the codes of Dharma. You're not behaving like that. You are behaving like an animal, and therefore I treated you like an animal. And when a kshatriya goes hunting in the forest, he may shoot that animal from an ambush. So there was no fault. And Bali understood, and Bali realized. He realized, I am an animal. Right? He got that realization, right? Not because he was a monkey, but because of his mentality, that he had the mentality of an animal, and actually an animal, right? And of course, we can reflect for a moment and take that back on ourselves and just see if we are even up to the mark of human being, right? And it wouldn't take much to find some areas where dharmena hina pasubirsa samana, that without the principle, without acting according to dharma, one is an animal. Right? So here we are. Dharma in this age of Kali. Can you even relate to it? To dharma? Duty. The word duty. Isn't it like, who likes that word? This is your duty. What are you doing? I'm chanting Hare Krishna. It's my duty. I'm getting up early in the morning. It's my duty. Oh, I'm so tired. I can't do it. Right? Duty is very difficult in this age. So, what to do? But Lord Ramachandra is teaching this dharma throughout and never deviates from it. Not when they take away his kingdom. Even in the fight with Bali, he did not deviate from dharma. And then comes this great battle. This terrible battle, and the battle is really something, like with all these demons coming out, and at one point Kumbhakarna comes out. Kumbhakarna is like this, lying there like a giant, the brother of Ravana, very powerful, enormous, and Kumbhakarna is asleep because Kumbhakarna had performed great austerities and asked for a benediction, but when he got that benediction, he made a mistake in a slip of the tongue and spoke a Sanskrit word where he asked for the power to defeat, right? But he used the wrong syllable and the word changed. He asked for the power to sleep, right? So as a result, Kumbhakarna said, and he was given the benediction to sleep. Then Kumbhakarna, full time. And a benediction many of us wouldn't mind to have, but Kumbhakarna was not so happy with that benediction. So he said, this is not fair, So then he was given another benediction that 6 months he would sleep and 6 months he would be awake. When it was the time for the battle, it was just his 6 months of sleep. So it was a very difficult thing. Now, Kumbhakarna was a first-class Rakshasa, a first-class meat eater, and he was deeply asleep. So what they did is they brought all this roasted flesh and put it under his nose, and they had lots of fresh blood which was nearby so he could smell it, to attract him to wake up. And as they had made all these, then they were making lots of noise, right? Incredible noise. They were blowing many conch shells in his ears to wake him up. But, nothing worked. At one point, they made a fire on his chest, right? Sort of he scratched. It was just very difficult to wake him up. But eventually, a huge army of men that were all trying to poke him and wake him up finally woke him up. And immediately he reached out and grabbed a whole bunch of men and ate them on the spot. Right? So Kumbhakarna was awake. So this personality came out in the battlefield. It was here where Lord Ramachandra personally had to come out into the fight, right? And personally face him, right? And Lord Ramachandra, at one point, the Kumbhakarna was just raging and just running through the battlefield and eating the monkeys and killing them one after the other. And it was just too much. And then at one point, Lord Ramachandra shot arrows, and with 2 arrows, he cut off both of his arms. And he just kept on running, kept on going. Nothing, crushing and so on. It was just inconceivable. Kumbhakarna. And finally, Lord Ramachandra killed Kumbhakarna. So once you start reading the Ramayana and you come to that battle, right? Make sure you have enough time left in the day, because otherwise you're going to be reading all night. It's happened to me, right? That I started too late in the day, and that I came to the battle, and that I just couldn't stop. It's like, sitting there like, oh God, the next page. All right, one more page. One more. And just going deep into the night. It's super intense, and it really is something. Anyway, finally, Lord Ramachandra has defeated Ravana. Right? And Hanuman is the one who brings the news to Sita. Oh, Sita, you are free. Meanwhile, Ravana is dead. Meanwhile, Sita is surrounded by these Rakshasi ladies who are torturing her. And Hanuman sees that. And he says, oh, wait a minute, Okay, hold on, Sita. I'll just kill these Rakshasis and then we go. Right? And Sita says, no. Hanuman, no. And then Sita tells a story. And it's one of my favorite stories. That's why I'm telling it again. And the story is this. She tells the story of a hunter who was in the forest. And she's saying this hunter was hunting, and the hunter came... okay. The hunter came across a tiger. So suddenly there's this tiger. So the hunter has a bow and arrow, and there's a tiger. And with a bow and arrow against the tiger is not so convincing. So this tiger just roared, and the hunter just, the roles reversed. The hunter running for his life, the tiger on his heels, right? The hunter climbed into a tree. He's up in the tree, and there is a bear. And he looks, and there's a bear, and he looks down, and there's a tiger. And the hunter in the tree is looking at the bear and the hunter. And it's like, then, the tiger begins to speak. And he says to the bear, my dear bear, you see that man? He is a hunter. He is our mutual enemy. If you kick him down, I will eat him. No, says the bear. No. He is a guest. He has come to my house. I have to give him shelter. How can I kick him down? No, I can't do that. Then the tiger says to the hunter, he says, oh, hunter, you see that bear? Yes, says the hunter. He says, oh, hunter, if you kick down this bear, I will eat the bear instead of you. The hunter immediately kicks the bear, and the bear starts falling. And last minute grabs a branch hanging on that branch and climbing back up. And then the tiger says to the bear, just see that hunter. You gave him shelter in your home, such a treacherous being. He betrayed you. Kick him down now before he does it again. No, says the bear. How can I kick him down? The fact that he misbehaved doesn't justify that I will misbehave as well. And so ended the story of the bear. And therefore, Hanuman, you cannot kill these Rakshasis. Oh no, oh no. That the fact that they misbehave doesn't mean that you can misbehave, O Hanuman. They're women. You cannot kill them according to the rules of Dharma. So anyway, in this way, and then Hanuman is ready to take Sita on his back. And Sita says, no, I will only go when Ram comes. So Ram comes and Ram brings her, and then Ram says to Sita, so now you have been saved. Now you can go. And everyone is like, oh, the whole monkey army. They've all been revived. And they're all standing there. One Maha Oga monkey, one with 64 zeros, right, is a Maha Oga. One Maha Oga monkey is standing there, and then, right, Lord Ramachandra says she can go. I mean, no one can believe it after everything they went through. I mean, what's going on? And he says, yes, you stayed in the house of another man, so I cannot take you back. But Sita is saying that if my chastity is uncompromised, then let fire proof it. And she said, I'll step in fire, and if fire doesn't burn me, then let that be the proof of my purity. And so she steps in the fire. Of course, we know that she stepped in the fire before when Ravana came to steal her from the forest. The original Sita had jumped into the fire, and a Maya Sita had been kidnapped by Ravana. And now the Maya Sita went back into the fire, and the fire god returned the original Sita. And then Ram was very happy. They took that plane. You know, there was a plane that Ravana had stolen from his brother Kuvera, and this plane was pretty good because it could fly at will. You could just go in and it would go wherever you wished at will. Not only that, the plane could also increase in size. So they went with that plane to Ayodhya, and as they went, the monkeys also wanted to come, and it was no problem. Because although it was one Maha Oga, the plane just became bigger and everyone fit, and they all flew towards Ayodhya. And as they came to Ayodhya, then we get this, the return of Lord Ramachandra, and Diwali and all that, right? Lights and celebration, and the coronation and Sitaram and everything very nice. But then one day there comes some envious person, and he has a problem with his wife, and Lord Ramachandra is incognito in the kingdom, as kings used to do, to see what is going on. And this man says, he sees this man who's fighting with his wife and saying, no, you don't come back in the house. You spent the night in the house of another man. Oh no, you'll never come back in with me. I am not like Ramachandra. And then Lord Ramachandra's heart smashed into 1,000 pieces, or maybe more, because he knew that he had to do what was impossible. And he went to Sita and he told Sita to go. And Sita left and went to the ashram of Valmiki Muni. Actually, she was expecting and she was giving birth to twins there. And then, right, at a later point, Lord Ramachandra agrees to call Sita back, but then she's had enough and she enters into the earth, never to be seen again. And therefore, the followers of Lord Chaitanya cannot tolerate the Ramayana because it's just too much, right? At the end, there's no happy end. It's a tragedy. Sita disappears into the earth. That's it. It's over. This old, I call it the old devouring dharma, right? It's too much. Krishna breaks dharma because love is higher than dharma. And there comes the Sankirtan movement of Lord Chaitanya, which shows us that dharma is essential to rise above sin. Varnashram dharma. Yes, we have big gatherings. Varnashram dharma, big discussions. Yes. Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudra. Yes. We're discussing all this. Do you know how to tie your dhoti as a Brahmana? Yes. I do, yes. But more than that is the platform of pure love. And that is why only one day a year are we focusing on Lord Ramachandra, although he's perfect, right? Because it is Krishna who displays, along with Srimati Radharani, in the pastimes of Krishna, we get the display of unconditional love. Right? Unconditional love. Love that rules. And that is the gift that Lord Chaitanya gave us. And that is why the whole year we focus on Krishna. Kechit kevalaya bhaktya vasudeva parayana. We focus on Krishna only. But one day a year, we just talk about Ram. Because how amazing is this Ramayana? How amazing is this ecstasy flowing from the heart and mouth of Valmiki? Ram. And therefore today, let us only talk about Ram. Let us only read about Ram. And if anyone has anything to say, the answer is Ram. That is how we will celebrate Ram-Navami. Remembering, glorifying, worshipping, serving Lord Ramachandra. Thank you very much. Any questions or comments? Ram.
I just wanted to ask about the name Raghunatha. You said means somebody who's in the dynasty of Raghu. If you could explain a little bit more, if you know.
The Kshatriyas come from different lineages. And the Kshatriya lineages begin with the sun god or with the moon god. Krishna is in the Soma dynasty. He appears in the dynasty of the moon god, and Lord Ramachandra appears in the dynasty of the sun god, and his name is the Raghu. It is known as the Raghu dynasty. Why exactly Raghu dynasty? I don't know. That I would have to research for you. I don't even know the exact meaning of the word Raghu. I mean, if someone has a signal, we can look in a Sanskrit dictionary what Raghu means. I'm not sure. But it refers to the dynasty of Lord Ramachandra. That lineage, that Kshatriya lineage coming from the sun god. Yes.
Hare Krishna. I would like to ask, for not so a long time ago, I was also reading in Ramayana. It was on the beginning when Ramachandra was around 15 years old, and Vishwamitra Muni came to Dasharat to take Ramachandra and Lakshman with him. And then on this time, Ramachandra was shooting a Rakshasi. I don't know the name actually. In a forest. And there was also mentioned in the Ramayana that it is allowed to kill a woman when she's behaving not nicely or not in a dharmic way or whatever, somehow like this. And because that was mentioned because he had to shoot this Rakshasi. And no, it was...
Better be careful.
and no, you explained also the story with Hanuman and Sita Devi, and on the end when he tried to save Sita Devi, and there was this Rakshasis around Sita Devi, and that Sita Devi was explaining this story, don't kill them.
Yeah, okay.
And actually
So an apparent contradiction, yes. Generally, the injunction is a woman is not to be killed. When a woman, it's like even when a woman commits a murder, she's not killed, right? Whereas a man would be killed, but a woman would not be killed, right? In Vedic culture, according to the rules of Dharma. So, generally, a woman is not to be killed. In this case of the demoness, yes, she was not just a woman; she was a very powerful Rakshasi, which is, she was a very powerful demoniac force, right? So then Vishwamitra Muni established, in that case, even although she's female, she can be killed. So in that case, it would be apadharma. Apadharma. Apadharma is also a dharma. Apadharma is the dharma, the emergency dharma, where it is allowed to break the rules. And so this was an apadharma case. Right? Although it was against dharma to kill a woman, but because she was an extremely powerful, nasty, very nasty, right? Not just powerful, but very nasty demon, Rakshasi, therefore, and she caused the greatest disturbance to the Brahminical culture, right? Not just eating ordinary people, but even Brahmins and so on. Therefore, this was an emergency, apadharma. Then, on the order of Vishwamitra, then this apadharma could be applied, and she could be killed. But otherwise, women are not to be killed. So if in this temple the women misbehave, you can't kill them. Was close. Yes.
Hare Krishna. Just read yesterday, the grandfather of Dasharat was Maharaj Raghu, the grandson of Katavanga.
There you go. Solved one problem.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Yes, please.
I have one confusion, which is that as Gaudiya Vaishnavas, we are supposed to prefer the focus on love of Vrindavan above Dharma, but at the same time, as you mentioned, we can look at ourselves and see how much we're still an animal. So, and for an animal, duty is higher than being an animal, and pure love may be a little too high for an animal. So how to understand and apply that properly.
Yeah. Yeah, very good. That's very true. That the Darnena hina pasubirsa samana, those who are not following Dharma are like are equal to animals. So this tendency, the animalistic tendencies, are strong in the whole population in this age of Kali. You know, most are described as dvipadapasus, two-legged animals. So, and just simply concerned with ahara nidrabhaya metunam scha, with eating, mating, defending, and so on, the animal propensities. So, what to do? Therefore, we can see that that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also accepted Varna ashram within his movement. Although in a discussion with the Tattvavadi in South India, he pointed out that Varna ashram is not fully transcendental. But the Vishnu Purana established Varna ashram as essential, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself took sannyas and acted according to the duties of Varna ashram. So in this way, we externally take a position in Varna ashram, but at the same time, we understand that there is a level beyond Varna ashram, and that is Nam Vipranachanara Patirna Pivaishana Sudro. I'm not anything in Varna ashram, Novanasti Yatirva, and so on, just the servant of the servant of the servant of the gopis. So we are simultaneously following the higher, or we look at the higher goal, but we are still careful to follow Varna ashram, because Varna ashram situates us in the mode of goodness. I've given I use the metaphor of the tightrope high up in the circus with under it a net, and that the net is the net of the mode of goodness. You know, many prescribed things, like a network of prescribed duties, which catches us from falling down onto the ground of animalistic behavior, but above it is the court of pure love, right? And of course we are meant, this movement is not to take us to the net. You know, when you go to the circus, you don't go to see like the big performer to sit in the net. It's, you know, like, okay, you know, it's nice that he's sitting in the, no, we want to see him walking on the court, right? Oh yes, we want to see him walking on that tightrope. That's what it is. So it is about the tightrope of love of God. That's what it's about. But meanwhile, while we cannot go that high, we at least stay above the animalistic tendencies by taking shelter of the mode of goodness. And Varna ashram is basically giving us all the prescribed duties to come to the mode of goodness. Like that. Yes.
I once heard the understanding that Sita Devi was sent away by Lord Ramchandra to bring in the mood of separation, like between Krishna and Radharani. Can you elaborate more on that?
Yeah, okay. You know, there's definitely that mood of separation existing in the pastime of Lord Ramachandra, because Lord Ramachandra went through separation. So we can see that the pastimes of Lord Ramachandra are also beginning to show also that element of separation. But okay, the difference between Radha and Krishna and between Sita Ram is that pastimes, the difference is that in the pastimes of Lord Ramachandra, Dharma is the predominant principle throughout, right? Although the separation comes in, it's Dharma that's the predominated principle. With Radha and Krishna, it's love that is the predominant principle. So we come from below Varna Ashram. So for us, Varna Ashram and Dharma is a good thing, and then we have to go above, right? So the pastimes of Vrindavan are showing separation on a higher level. Right? It goes deeper into the intricacies of that love than we see in the pastimes of Sitaram. Although we see the love, right, but it's not as much displayed as in the pastimes in Vrindavan.
But maybe the point of Dharma is just for us. But, you know, Sita and Ram, they also enjoy that mood of separation.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. Okay, yes, that's okay, sure. Yeah.
This story of Sita is not well taken by the feminist movement. So what would be the proper response?
Which
our
aspect
side?
is not well taken?
Well, that Sri Ramachandra abandoned Sita, while she was pregnant. How Sita was treated by Ramachandra, and we know they even made this ridiculous cartoon, movie.
Oh, they made a cartoon.
Sita sings the blues. Sita sings the blues.
I haven't seen it.
It was made by a left rebelist Indologist from America.
Oh, I see.
There was big scandal, all the Indians wrote petitions against this movie, like this.
Well, when the materialist starts to look at transcendental knowledge and starts to measure things by mundane standards, then obviously very quickly they'll find fault with the pure transcendental movement and process. How do we deal with that according to time, place, and circumstance? Right? Sometimes we may try to pacify materialists when when Jagadish Chandra Bose came to take men from Bhaktisiddhanta said, "Oh, these men will not be very useful to you because they just study books all day. They have no muscles. You need strong men. So what's the use of these skinny little men? You don't need them for your army." Whereas Jagadish Chandra Bose was complaining that he was taking men away from the mission, from Swaraj, from fighting for independence. He said, "No, I just take the useless ones." So Bhaktisiddhanta gave a diplomatic answer at that point, right? And Prabhupada also pacified Naxalites, terrorists. The Bengali terrorists, Naxalites are terrorists. So he's also pacifying the terrorists when they became upset about the movement. So the point is, we externally we may deal according to time, place, and circumstance. If we are the underdog, right? If we are a tiny little movement, then sometimes we have to be tactful and diplomatic in dealing with such things. But the truth of the matter, obviously, is the whole mundane morality is not at all applicable. Not at all applicable. This is never a mundane pastime. It is the Supreme Lord. And yes, it seems very harsh that he banished Sita. I don't know if he was... It didn't seem that he was aware that she was pregnant, by the way, right? In the Ramayana, because later Love and Kush appeared to his surprise. He's not aware. He doesn't know that he has some sons out there or something like that. It's like sometimes difficult if you start to measure the morality from ancient scriptures by mundane standards, right? Mundane dharma, what looks right yeah, from a mundane platform, is not right from a spiritual platform necessarily. Arjuna's arguments in the beginning of the Gita are pretty good. He doesn't want to kill, he doesn't want to kill his family, of course, you know. Yeah, Arjuna's right. I mean, you know, when he didn't want to fight, that was right. He was a pacifist. He was laudable. But Krishna made him fight. I've also seen papers like that, you know, describing the Bhagavad Gita as a demoniac book. So we don't need to take it too serious. That there are some people who make funny noises about the Ramayana, and that now we have to rise to the occasion to defeat this. You know what we do? We just amplify the voices that glorify the Ramayana and just drown out the noise. That's easier than try and argue with people who will never concede. So that's generally what we do. Pacify it a little, but amplify the glorification. Yeah.
Thank you.
I have to go.
Just
No,
short.
Yeah,
Just short.
I'll do it short, but I really have to go.
Raghunath means Raghu means the fast one who moves really fast with the chariot also.
Okay, there you go.
And one more thing, I read from Gaur Govinda Maharaj this evolution of rasa from Nrsimhadev, who thinks that I was born of a pillar, I want to have a mother, and then it becomes Vamanadev. And then also he talks about Ramachandra, who experienced a little bit of viraha, and it was a preparation for him to be for the incarnation of Krishna. So, yes.
Yeah, also nice. Very nice. Thank you very much. And yes, I really have to go at 9:30. I have to do something. So thank you very much. Sri Ramachandra Bhagavan ki jai. Sri Ram-Navami Maha Mahotsava ki jai. Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman ki jai.